Well, just for YouTube, welcome for the interview for the BFX Honey framework. Thank you for joining us, Casper and Chris. Starting with Chris. Chris, could you introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi guys. So I'm Chris, and I'm a software engineer at Bitfinex, and I'm the main guy that's developed the Honey framework, basically. So about half of it was my idea, the trading strategy side, and I've been working on it this year. And yeah, so I'm happy to be presenting it to you guys and to have all of you guys test it out.
Cool. And Casper, could you introduce yourself?
And my name is Kasper. I'm responsible for marketing efforts at Bitfinex and been at the company for almost a year and a half, and happy to be here too.
Cool. Just for the people in TeamSpeak, it's gonna be simple. We're gonna start with just a set framework of questions, and after that, it's open mic and people can just talk and type. But for now, we're just gonna start with this. Well, then I gonna focus more on Chris, considering Chris is the one behind the Honey framework together with Paulo. What was your reason for making it, Chris? Or what inspired you to make the Honey framework?
Yeah, so part of it was when I first joined Bitfinex. Actually, I joined to make a trading strategy system, or a system for more complex trading behaviors. And really, there's nothing like that right now. So before the Honey framework, it was just the static order types. And I mean, like TradingView has a scripting language and whatnot, and there are all sorts of third-party bot frameworks. So I wanted to make a system that was integrated with Bitfinex and that you could use straight from our systems. So that was sort of the idea behind it originally.
All right. Do you have anything to add to that, or you're liking that?
Casper, or?
Yeah, if Casper has anything to add to it, with what he thinks.
No, nothing to add so far.
So, for those, can you explain what it currently does? Like, what are the order types and everything? Because I think a lot of people are confused about what is the Honey framework actually. Like, we know it's a bot client from Bitfinex itself, but can you go more into depth into the strategies that it has and how to set it up? We can do that later.
Yeah, so there are two components to it basically, and they're sort of independent of each other, and they kind of do similar things. There's the algorithmic order side, which is basically it's a system for making more complex order types that use the same order types that already exist on the platform, but that script them. So it runs programmatically, and there are four types of orders already built on it, and that's iceberg and accumulate distribute and TWAP and ping pong. And what those order types basically do is they either buy or sell a certain quantity of crypto either through time or simultaneously, like with ping pong, where one order triggers the creation of another one. But basically, that whole side is to make a more complex order type that you can submit from the Bitfinex form on the website. So you can trade with the pre-existing order types or with the Honey framework order types. But you need to run your own algorithmic order server, and there's a tutorial and info for that on the web. But on the other hand, the trading strategy side, that's more of a bot framework. So a trading strategy can submit atomic orders, which are the normal ones that everybody already knows on Bitfinex, and you can also submit algorithmic orders, but it's essentially a trading bot. So it's meant to be executed once from a script and to just keep running and trading, whereas the algorithmic orders are meant to be sent from the website, and they're like individual orders, just like the existing types. So there are two sides. There are strategies and algorithmic orders.
Okay. So let's say we have the algorithmic orders, like ping pong.
Yeah.
But let's say I would want to have another order. Like, would Bitfinex be able to add another order, another algo to it, or is that?
Yeah, so we're still adding new algo order types. So Flibber had an idea for, a suggestion for a more complex iceberg, which has some price variance. Maybe he can talk a bit more about that. But so the four types that we have launched with already, those are just the starting set. But the framework itself is meant to be extended. So I mean, I hope to see some order types from the community over the next few months, or at least some suggestions. And we're free to implement those suggestions.
That's pretty cool that you're implementing such a tool. I mean, I've been using it in beta as well. I've been trying it in beta, and I've been using it for the last 2 weeks, so I kind of know how fast the orders are.
What do you think so far?
I think the order submission is super fast. It's the downside is that after 4,000 orders, your UI is basically broken. Like you can't use the website. It's unusable.
Yeah, there's still some performance problems on Bitfinex. It's more so on Bitfinex than it is on Bitfinex.
Yeah, like Bitfinex just freezes out, like the browser freezes. Have to reopen. On Bitfinex, a little bit less, but then again, 4,000 orders. 4,000 orders.
Yeah, I have the same problem. We're still working on it, so I have to talk to the guys internally about it.
Okay, so what are the benefits? A lot of people, they want to go into algorithmic trading, especially in the sideways market. So you have things like MarginBot, Hasbot, and I believe Cat was called, or other things out there. Why should people not use something that's kind of easy to install? Because probably doesn't know anything about Linux. Why would they, going through the hassle of using the Bitfinex framework? Like,
I mean, there's an obvious benefit in that it's officially supported by us. So and it's built and integrated into Bitfinex and Bitfinex. So it's made to work with our interface and with our API, and it's designed by our programmers. And I mean, we're still working on it, so I'm still trying to make the install process a bit simpler for people on Windows, especially. But the main advantage is that it's officially supported by us, and it's made with our platform in mind first, and not just a third-party framework for multiple exchanges. So the speed and the stability, it should be better on average than other frameworks. And at the same time, we're still adding to it and developing it. So I think we have quite the responsive developer team. So if people have suggestions or new ideas, like for example, ping pong, that was an addition towards the end when we launched, and that came with your help, RJ. So I mean, there's a bit more back and forth between us and the community, I think, versus other third-party frameworks that are made for multiple exchanges. And then the general stability and performance is just better because it's made specifically for Bitfinex and it integrates with the interface.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think the speed as well to submit the orders, I mean, what is just crazy. There's something on the side. It's you can basically just market by 5,000 or what is it? 500 orders in one click, if you want.
Yeah, that's the limit per pair. So that's not a Honey framework limit. That's the Bitfinex limit.
Do you know if there's any plan to lift that, or do you think 500 orders per pair is enough?
As far as I know, that's static, but maybe Paulo has some other plans for the future. I'm not sure.
It might be interesting if once Paulo joins in regards to EOSFinex. Yeah, I mean the future. Like, what do you? I know you guys put the tracking in there so you can track the orders nowadays. Do you see over the last 2 weeks that there's more people are using it?
I haven't checked with Paulo, so that's an on-demand thing where we generate a report whenever we want to see it. So all we're doing is we're just tagging the orders that were sent with the Honey framework. So we can check back later to see usage, but we haven't taken a look yet.
Oh, no, that's unfortunate. It would be an interesting step to know if you see.
I can ask though.
Yeah, it would be great if you can ask and see if you can get an answer later on. Yeah, then I have kind of one last question. Is like, what do you think is the effect on the market because of the Honey framework? Because it's obviously a market making tool. At least that's what I'm using it for. But I assume, like you have your own thoughts behind that as well.
Yeah, so I mean, it really depends on how many people are using it and at what volumes. So there are basically two ways of using the Honey framework, and that's for market making, as you said, or it's for making orders for very large quantities of crypto. And basically hiding your activities from the market by randomizing the order size or spreading it out through time. And at the moment, I'm not sure how much of a change it's really caused. But moving forwards, as more and more people start to use it, there will be more and more traders basically trading in the same way. So we'll see that certain market movements, I think, will be amplified and more dramatic and maybe more alternating back and forth. So like candles spiking up and down. It really depends on the markets and on the number of people using it, but it can certainly amplify the effects of a trader or of a group of traders. So for ping pong, for example, I mean, if you're submitting 500 orders and if there are 20 other traders all doing the same thing, that will definitely amplify the effect.
Okay, but so now about like obviously there's risk for a misclick that people can have. I know you guys have that your buy can't be higher than your sell, I believe.
Yeah.
On the buy side. But also for like you have someone who accidentally just rips up a book and starts ping ponging at the top. Like, is there something against that, or is that like, yeah, that's the own risk? Like, what are the
No.
what are the risks of the Honey framework in your opinion, if there are any?
I mean, there's nothing that comes to mind immediately. I guess you do have to be careful when you submit an order. There are some basic sanity checks to make sure that, for example, as you said, you're not like your min and max prices. The min is lower than the max. But really, it can kind of get out of hand if you submit many orders for a very high amount. I mean, because the Honey framework will do it. So if you ask for 500 orders, you will get 500 orders. And if you misconfigure them, they're instant. So they will all hit the market within maybe a second or two of each other. So you do have to be careful in using it, but I think that's up to the individual trader.
I think a second is really generous, considering I've seen it.
Yeah, it depends on your connection.
Yeah. So now more in regards to setup. What does somebody need to get this started? You explained to that. Like, obviously you made the Medium article, which I post at the bottom.
Yeah, so there's an algo order server which basically runs your orders, and that you need to run that on your own device or server. And we recommend a server because if it disconnects, it will obviously stop working. So you can't really run it on your own computer if you ever shut it down or turn it off, or yeah. If you're running it on your laptop, it's obviously not optimal. So it's meant to be run on a Linux server, but it works on Mac and Windows as well. So you do need a server somewhere optimally to be using it. And there's the tutorial about how to set it up in the chat on Medium.
Okay, so if people would have more questions, they could just contact you on Telegram, for example?
Yeah, that'd be best. On Telegram, I'm also on Twitter, but I don't really use it, but yeah, that's fair enough.
Alright. Oh.
And it may be worth mentioning that there's a deadman switch, which is active with the Honey framework, so when it disconnects from your account, it will cancel all of your open orders, and that's a safety feature. So that's another reason why it's not good to run it on a machine that might disconnect from the server.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, I think that the deadman switch is pretty annoying if you have normal orders, but at the end of the day, it's the safest thing, right?
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to tell us about it?
I mean, well, the strategy side hasn't really been used very much yet, so I think people have been more interested in the algorithmic order side. But for those of you that are running bots, the trading strategy component is it's quite powerful. So we have a library of indicators that you can use, and you can basically build a bot out of a series of if-then statements on the indicators. So you can track like RSI and moving averages and MACD and all of that, and execute trades when certain conditions are met. And that's really quite powerful because you can also backtest it on our data. So there's a separate library for doing that on GitHub. And I mean, you do need to be a programmer to use it. So it's currently only written in JavaScript, but we're translating it to Python as well, so you can use it there. But I think that side is actually more exciting, but it's less known right now because the algorithmic orders are integrated into the interface and whatnot, so they're a bit more ready to go. But if you guys are running bots, yeah, the trading strategy side is quite powerful. It's basically completely unlimited in terms of what it can do. So you just write a program in JavaScript or in Python with a set of rules, and it will run on our systems. And you can also backtest the same logic. So I think TradingView has something similar with their scripting language. I'm not quite sure what it's called, but it's basically like that. So just how TradingView has a system for writing strategies and backtesting them and executing them, that's basically exactly what the Honey Framework strategy side is for Bitfinex. And it's not planned in the short term, but maybe next year we're going to be working on a plugin system for it, which will let you trade on third-party exchanges. But that's more for the community to develop. So for the time being, it's Bitfinex only.
So you're telling me like Bitfinex is actually, willing to support with their own framework other exchanges just to make it easier for users to grow in this space.
We're willing to let other people write the connecting logic for it, yeah. So we won't be coding the plugins ourselves for other exchanges, but we will make it possible for other people to do that and for the community to do that. So, and I mean, I expect the community to do it if it's possible, for sure. And I mean, so it's not something that we're talking about publicly at the moment, but I'm pretty sure I can mention it right now. But also another plan that we have for the trading strategy side is a signals component, where you can basically run a trading bot and send your trading signals out to another trading bot and have it copy your movements. And the way that will work is you will need to come to an agreement with the user of the other bot for selling access to your signals. So there's going to be a sort of a peer-to-peer marketplace for trading bot signals. And the actual deals for purchasing signals and paying for them will be done off of our platform. But essentially, the way it will work is the trading signals will be encrypted, and you can sell them to somebody and encrypt them with a key that they have the corresponding private key for, and then they can decrypt the signals. And if they ever stop paying you, you can just encrypt them with a different key, so that they can't be read anymore. But what that will do in the future is it will enable sort of a network of trading bots in a master-slave fashion, where one bot is actually sending out the signals to the other bots. So if you have a good trading strategy, you can sell access to your trading signals. But that's planned for later next year, not now.
So like identity access to the signals.
I didn't get that. Can you say that again?
So like access management to the signals, like certificate revocation maybe, or are you thinking like encrypt, like
public-private key pairs. So like you'll give somebody your public key and they'll encrypt the signals with that key and send them to you.
Okay.
That's pretty cool. Like I remember this being mentioned, I believe, once. This is I mean, that's pretty cool, like just in general, like things like that. Yeah, is there anything other you want to share, Chris, about the Honey framework or what the plan is?
I mean, that's basically it. So I see there's a question in the chat about TAlib, and so I should mention that we've coded our own indicators library. So it's not using TAlib, it's a separate library which is open source. But in the future, right now the algorithmic order side is essentially complete, so we'll just be adding more algo order types to it. But moving forwards, the trading strategy side will be it's our main focus now. So you guys should see more tutorials for that coming out over the next few weeks.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks for your time, Chris. Casper, do you want to add something about it, or something Bitfinex, Etfinex, or EOSfinex related?
Not too much to add. I think Chris did a good job, but just to point out that this, of course, works on both Bitfinex and EOS or Bitfinex, whichever or wherever your preference lies. And for those of you that might be a bit hesitant about trying to get it set up, or who might not have as much experience with it, it's fairly simple or easy to get set up following the guide on Medium that Chris put together. So I'd advise you to take a look at that and reach out to us on Telegram if you have any questions at all.
Awesome. Then, unless Flubber has anything to say or you have anything to add, Chris or Casper, I'm gonna unmute the channel and people are open to ask questions.
No, it sounds good. I think we can open it up to questions.
Yeah, go for it.
And now everybody's free. There we go.
Yeah, so for the question, how do we find you on Telegram? I'm on there as Ferno, so the same name as here in the chat.
Guys, don't leave your mics open. Let these guys talk.
I guess, one moment, let me fix this.
I think this sounds super cool. It sounds like a dream from like a year or two ago. Becoming, it's reality.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, are there any new or like different algorithm types that you guys would want to see implemented besides what we already have?
Well, I just want the ping pong one, and I know you're working on making it more dynamic, even, or more trend following. That you were thinking about B-bands, right? Strategy that just works on the B-bands.
Yeah, but I'm not sure how well that can work actually. So after we talked about it, I thought about it a bit more, and really, it's just best to cover the whole range.
All right.
Did you mention that you were already working on a Python implementation?
Yeah.
Do you have an ETA for that?
Let's say about 2 weeks from now. It's already on GitHub, and I'm pretty sure it's open source. Let me just check.
Oh, that sounds great.
Is there anything you guys might need help with or could use assistance with?
Testing and new ideas. So, the current set of orders, they were planned out from the beginning, so it's not really, I mean, ping pong was added towards the end, but we definitely want to have way more order types than what we have now. And in terms of testing, so WhalePool, RJ, and Flipper have been a big help, and that's basically it. I mean, there's not really many other people that have been using it in the early access period, or even now, I'm not sure, because we just launched it. So
I will. I'll try and load up a VM and test this interact with the exchange. I believe I can certainly test it. It's basically a web app interface to the API, right? You don't necessarily.
yeah, it's just a standalone server that runs. It's like the backend component to a web app.
So have any API methods been added for this framework? Is it using the basic API that's documented on your site?
Yeah, it's using the official API. We've just added some an integration for it on the interface. So the order types show up in the order form. And actually, so if you create your own custom algo or order type, you can also define an order form layout. So you can basically make the order form show all the different fields for the parameters for your order type. So you can invent your own order type, and it will show up on our website. I'm going to send the link for the Python implementation in the chat.
Beautiful. Is there a performance difference between the two? You know, between say JavaScript, Python, or Golang?
Do you mean in the architecture of it?
Yeah, I guess this stuff is more so what like used for just to initiate the functions, right? It's like scripting, right?
Yeah, so I mean, on the JavaScript side, we just provide a set of methods for opening positions and managing them, and an indicator library. So you can define a set of indicators and then test for their values and manage your positions, so open and close as needed. But all of that is inside of a system for reacting to price updates, and this is all for the strategy side. So basically, the way it works is whenever a trade or a candle comes in, it will call your update method, and then inside of that, you can do whatever you want, basically, using the library to manage your position. And the main difference between the JavaScript and the Python implementations is that in JavaScript, it uses functions, so it's just a set of functions for doing everything, whereas in Python, there's going to be a strategy class, and the class will have a lifetime, basically, so you would create an instance of the class, and then that's your strategy. Whereas in JavaScript, it's just a set of methods that you can basically put together however you want. And for Bluecard, who asked about the order book on backtesting, that's currently not replicated. So when you backtest, it's just trade and candle ticks that come in. And there's another question about arbitrage. And it's currently not possible to use the framework for arbitrage. But I mean, you could use it to I mean, you would need to augment it for arbitrage, because by default, it's only meant to run on one pair at a time.
So are there any further questions from anyone? And I want to thank you guys for your time. And yeah, more than happy to see you guys around. Or maybe just a off-topic question for Casper. Casper, do you know what date Bitfinex will launch? Because I believe it's this month.
I'm not sure of the exact date. Should be in the next, I'm guessing 2 to 3 months for public beta. Hopefully before then, but using that as a time frame.
All right. Cool.
So, I mean, before we go, I just want to ask, are there any trade tools that you guys would want to see implemented that would help you out? So, like order types or really anything, but yeah, mainly order types.
Brackets, like bracket orders, instead of like one OCO, just being able to have multiple stops and multiple targets.
All right, interesting. That's definitely something that we could do.
Awesome.
Yeah, I just have a question on the you mentioned sort of a bot behavior on the if this then that kind of thing you're working on. I was just wondering how much of a depth does that have, or in your experience have you? I'm guessing you've been back testing it. How sophisticated it actually is.
Well, it's basically unlimited, because at the end of the day, it's just a JavaScript program or a Python program. So you can even pull in data from external sources like Twitter. And there's actually a small demo for that on our documentation. I think Paulo posted a tweet about it. But you can do whatever you want. So the Honey framework, it's just to interface with our systems to actually execute the trades. But in terms of how you decide when to trade, that's completely up to you. So the main thing that we provide is a set of indicators, similar to what TradingView has. I mean, it's actually based on the list from TradingView, and we cover over 85% of it. So if it's in the TradingView chart, it's probably available in the Honey framework.
Well, then let's wrap it up. Thank you, Chris and Casper, for being here. Thank you for taking the time. And looking forward to see you guys around again.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Yeah, I hope we can be back or come back to present other projects that we're working on.
Yeah, sounds great. Sounds cool.
Yeah, sure, guys. It was my pleasure, and it was great.
Thank you guys very, very much.
Yeah, congratulations, by the way, because the platform just looks really incredible. Like best tech in across all the other exchanges.
Yeah, thanks.
I'll
tell the rest of the team that.
That's all right. I like your guys' innovation, the rate of innovation. I really appreciate it. It's really great to see for the exchanges, for the markets.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I mean, we definitely try. So unlike what Twitter and the FUDsters say about us, so we're mostly a tech team, and we mostly just work on the platform itself, as opposed to like taking down crypto through various FUD stories.
I'm gonna guess this tool is going to be fairly disruptive on the markets. It'll probably give a certain advantage. So yeah, I'm very curious to test it out. Or this framework, for that matter.
Yeah, sure. And if you have any issues with it or like any suggestions or anything, just reach me out on Telegram. So, because it's definitely still, you can consider it still in beta right now.
Oh, it's blockchain. Everything's in alpha and beta, right?
Alright, well, I gotta bounce. Have a wonderful day. What's left?
Right.
Thank you guys.